Mr. Lewis, would you do some prayer for us?
You talked about, you said in everything we should all give thanks, so we also say thank you for your goodness, your kindness, and mercy. We thank you for our community, we thank you for this board. We ask that you will give us the wisdom and the knowledge to proceed forward, to do what's best for this community. And God, we thank you for everything. We give you all the glory, honor, and praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, I have the public sign-up sheet. Nobody signed up, so do I have any public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and get started. In your packet, you should have had a copy of the minutes from October 7th. Any changes to the minutes? And if no, then I would be open to a motion to approve. Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, minutes approved. I didn't see, do we have anybody here from Gator Ring come in? We're gonna reach out to them and meet with them. What we're asking all of our existing contracts to do is provide us the data that was required in the contracts. We have some data from Gator Reynolds, but it's not what I would consider audit standard data. So we're gonna reach back out to them and do that. Same thing with Spectre. Any other outstanding contracts, we have reached out to Provalis on that. We have to get the status of the building transfer on that as well. But any other outstanding reports that are due, Tom, that you know of? I think those are the ones that still are in the time frame.
I really haven't had a chance to dig into, except the Spectre and the Jewel and a couple of those, I've been trying to, I know that this is a problem for everybody, all the economic development corporations said at meetings, regional meeting we had, commenting on the fact that this was just a lot of unnecessary paperwork to do it on a monthly basis, but they probably would be okay with quarterly reports, and I think we can look forward to that happening. But also trying to go through the regulatory information to make sure that we develop a form that can be given to them, so where each month they'll report according to that form, so we get the information back.
Yeah, and Tom, I agree. Terry, you have the floor.
I do. So we have reached out to Gator Reynolds, is that what you're saying? They just not show up?
We did not get a call back yet. I mean, we didn't touch base. In other words, it wasn't that they didn't show up.
Okay, there was no contact.
No contact.
I'm trying to get a tour schedule for there, but I don't know what the deal is, my emails don't go through, get kicked back.
And so what about the other companies that's on here?
You're talking about the,
My guess is anybody that has an economic development agreement to pay or repay, whatever, probably not submitting the files, and what I can tell by past reports.
Florence said the records reflect that they did not show up to this meeting.
and like I said, I think Gator Reynolds was no contact, so we had them on the agenda, but I don't know that I can hold that against them because I don't know that I got into contact with them. But that being said, some bistro called me today. You asked about son, that was the next one on the agenda. He wanted to postpone his presentation. He's got a project he's finishing up in San Antonio. He's about 2 weeks away from doing that, and he wants to come and meet with us and then schedule a presentation later on, because he was not prepared to do the presentation now because he's in San Antonio trying to finish up the project he's working on.
But I still ask that the records reflect that due to the fact that we did get funding for them. They're on our list to have funding from JEDCO. So I think if anyone on our list that we're gonna give money to, they should at least be at the meeting.
Well,
We're trying to make it easy for her to do that.
Sorry?
We're trying to make it easy for them to do that so they don't forget to make their reports.
and since our Gator Reynolds not here, I'm gonna do the prerogative of going ahead and go to section B. let's talk about the Sun Bistro project, just a little bit. The previous board, in last April, approved, I believe it was $230,000, I have to double check the minutes, for some, underground, electrical and cable work, I guess to get it to the existing buildings over there that they're working on, where the existing Pizza Hut building is. I was to visit with Mr. Wade and explained the situation that we have a whole new board, and that it's our interpretation that this funding would require also a city council approval, which we do not have at this time. So that being said, that's why I asked him to come back and represent, because, you know, there was what, 3 people on the board when he presented last time. The rest of the 11 people are not, you know, I'm not that familiar with the project, and I don't know how many other people are too, so I explained to Mr. To Wade that he needed to come back and present, and he just called up yesterday and told me he couldn't make it this month, but he would be in contact and represent. So as far as I'm concerned, we're gonna get the board to understand the project, discuss it and go from there, and then the board still proceeds with what the last April vote was, then we'll take that to city council.
And just confirmation, I just had a question. We do not have a contract with Sun Bistro.
We do not. Just for full disclosure, the previous attorney, Mr. Walker, was working on one. They ran into what my understanding was, a issue with the Texas comptroller on the naming rights of the LLC that they had. They got that straightened out, and by the time he reconnected with Mr. Walker had resigned, and so there's no contract. So that's the status of the.
So it's a new project for us. So there is no contract with him, so he has to present to this board, for this board to make the decision whether or not he gets it.
That's what I explained to Wade Wynn, I believe is how you pronounce his name. That was my preference to represent. Tell us what the project is. It's more than just a restaurant. My understanding is also want to put in one other establishment and some meeting rooms. But the only one I've talked to that was even familiar with it was Mr. Hildren. He couldn't make it tonight.
And also as far as gated rentals, because that night that they gave that money to Sun Bistro, they also gave the money to gated rentals. So is there a contract with gated rentals for the next amount of money that they requested?
Tina, keep it straight here. My understanding, we had the original contract for gated rentals was for $360,000. $320,000 of that has been dispersed over time. There's still another $40,000. But that's one of the things I'm going to require from gated rentals is coming in and meeting the reporting requirements before we issue the other $40,000.
But before, because I know in that, I think it was the April meeting, that the previous board gave gated rentals another like $350,000, I don't remember the total. So is there a contract for the new one?
My understanding, they authorized a check for $160,000.
It was 150, then 175, and they still have 40,000 on the old contract.
Yeah.
There is no new contract.
No new contract that I'm aware of.
So they would need to come back and request more money because this is a new board.
There were benchmarks in the contract, okay, and they still have $40,000 outstanding with the old contract. However, before that $40,000 is dispersed, we're gonna have them come in and give us a report of what they're doing, meet the reporting requirements, and then if they meet that last threshold in the contract, then they still are owed $40,000.
Did they ask for a new contract?
They did.
They did.
They promised additional jobs as well.
Well,
I just watched
then I'm
the
unaware of
video
that.
today.
Indeed, but if Tina hasn't seen any proof of that contract, then that means
Then there's no contract.
There is not.
Exactly.
We do not have,
it's just the old original one.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's what you're asking.
Yes.
so there was a request.
Yes.
And it was approved, but
There
there's
is no
apparently
contract.
no contract.
I wanna say it was the April 22nd meeting, if I'm not
It's
mistaken.
the same one as
research that minutes because we found no evidence of the contract or terms or, in the records at all.
If I'm not mistaken, it was an additional 21 jobs that made, but it's, I mean,
It was for the sprinkler system that they need to put in, there was some kind of upgrade that they were unaware of at the time of the original one. And that's what they came back to court and asked for help with, was the sprinkler system that they had.
But again, it's my position that you need to meet the reporting requirements before we move forward on anything.
absolutely.
Yes.
That date again, you said April.
I believe it was April 22nd, on Mr. Stewart's YouTube page, you can find the actual JEDCO meeting.
But I mean, was that 24, 25?
25. Their original request was in August of 24, so 8 months later, they came back and requested another 350. So if you look at the totals within an 8-month period of time, Gated Rentals have requested $715,000, and I just think that's ludicrous. That's just my opinion.
As far as I'm concerned, no, I have not seen this, we don't have a contract or anything else obligating us. The only thing we found was a contract for $360,000, 328 of that has been dispersed. So, as far as a new contract, I need to understand what it's for, whether it makes sense. I mean, to me, it's, as far as I'm concerned, be a new request.
Yes, I agree, yes.
Mr. Semple?
I have a question on the, Sergeant Bistro. It was a hit, I was at that meeting. But was there, there was only three of us could have a meeting. Want the rest of them here?
Well, you know,
That's what I'm saying, I mean, asking,
you're,
is that all legit?
you're questioning the legitimacy of the vote, and instead of worried about that, Mr. Sample, I'm thinking that we bring him in because we need to, as a board, we need to be comfortable with where we're going or not going. I mean, you know, it's not a done decision, regardless of what they did last April, and then we still have to go, as far as I'm concerned, take this to city council as well.
Yes.
Because it would be above the threshold that we're gonna talk about and approve tonight, so.
So kind of what you're saying is what this other board that said, told them they can give them and all this and that's, we just forget that.
Well, it's our, based on the legal opinion we had, and it's our opinion, and after getting guidance from the city council, we're gonna take care of it. Just because the board said yes here before, whatever, there's an oversight board, which is the city council. They haven't even seen this project yet, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So, this project is not complete until it passes this board plus the city council.
Okay.
So,
Those, lawyer was here, I wanted to ask questions, but you
Yeah.
didn't hear.
and if I say anything wrong, feel
No,
free.
you're right.
Our Bill, I mean, he'll explain everything there pretty good, you're kind of familiar with what I'm asking.
Yes, Mr. Chair, so just for a point of clarity, are we on 5A or 5B? Well,
Right now, we were talking about 5B, the Sun Bistro, and for clarity, we found minutes where, the previous board on Sun Bistro did a presentation and said, approved a $230,000 disbursement to them for some infrastructure work to get utilities, I guess, under the parking lot where they're existing at. The contract was never executed because he ran into some problems at the Texas Comptroller's office. The previous attorney stopped his work and did not complete the work because, and then by the time Mr. Nugent, or Wynn, excuse me, Mr. Wynn got it straightened out, recontacted Mr. Walker, he was no longer working for the JEDCO board. So again, no more work was done on the contract, so there is no contract.
okay.
So that's where we're at, we're on 5B.
So the action item is to bring him back in, have a conversation with him.
And he was gonna be here tonight, but he called me and said that he was going to ask us to postpone that until next week. But I wanted to explain the situation to the board that this is what's happening. His expectation is that the board supports it, but I've also explained to him that we have a new board, we need to get comfortable with it, but we also need city council approval.
Okay, and then as far as, since we're on 5B and no longer 5A, what is action item on 5A?
5A is to contact Gated Rentals and have them come and do I would prefer them to do a presentation, but a bare minimum, I want them to meet the reporting requirements of the contract.
Okay, all right, thank you for this.
To be able to pass an audit, in other words, they have presented data, I'm not gonna say they haven't presented data. But, you know, they presented names of workers and everything else, but not the W-2s, not the, you know, not what would be required in an audit.
Yeah, so going forward, since we're new and this is a new regime, who's gonna help manage the contractual expectations when we're dealing with, potential customers like this? For example, 5A and 5B, who's gonna have oversight to make sure that they're adhering to, the guidelines and regulations that we approve? I wouldn't think it would be the treasurer. I wouldn't think it would be you. I would think it would be all of you.
So,
I would think it would be, thank you for that.
Your executive assistant should be over your contracts.
So who's?
Your executive assistant that we don't have.
Okay, and then, in event that that person is not available, based on the bylaws, I think committees are supposed to be formed and then maybe a committee can work alongside it. We can talk about that offline, maybe in executive session or something. I just want to point that out, to be clear about it.
yeah.
That oversight is important. You can't do everything. So-
No, and I'm not, believe me, I'm not wanting to do everything, it's been kind of overwhelming for the last 2 months anyway. That being said, to answer your question, I agree with Nicole, I think that'd be the executive assistant. In fact, if we don't have an executive assistant, that would go to the executive director, because the executive assistant worked for him.
Okay.
And the executive director would inform the board if there's a problem, and then we would, you know, as a
Okay.
board, address that the problem is not being addressed.
Okay, I think this is my question. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, the next one is Mr. Tom.
Well, really, these contracts have been my main issue for the past 30 days. As I said,
Let me recognize, any way possible you can go to the podium, that way we all can see you working, make your presentation.
sure can.
Thank you.
And everybody back there hears?
We can't hear you.
Okay, we need to speak up. I had some yeses, some no's.
We can't hear you.
You can put some wheels on.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, continue, please. As I said, the administration, has been in a tough spot, because there's largely pretty much an absence of recorded data that should be here that's not here. And, we're just trying to make the best we can do with that. So far, I haven't seen any outstanding illegal issues, you might say. Things are just not being reported as they should have been. And we want to correct that and make sure we get solid information back on every report that we have. I'm surprised that, well, I don't know what the old board heard or not heard, but I know that, Ms. Russo is busy with us twice, and she knows what has not been done. And I gave her the copies of the audits that had been made by the city for the past 5 years. So that kind of qualified those issues about what was spent. It's a little cloudy on what it was really spent on, because the audits, you don't get the detail of the actual checks processed and all that in an audit. You only get the final number. And so it looked okay. I can say honestly that we're sitting on a lot of real estate value. And that's another thing that we've been focusing on, is trying to make sure that we know what's where, And, Kenneth will be reporting on that in just a minute. But, frankly, I am doubly concerned about the property for the sports center. If there is to be a sports center, you know, whatever needs to be done, we own 200 and some odd acres out there. That's gotta be conditioned one way or another. It's adjacent to the industrial park. Unless we do something about it, it's gonna become an eyesore for the industrial park. So we need to start dealing with that. And Kenneth dealt with, and I congratulate him on this. One of the points that I brought to his attention was that the fact that the industrial park needed to have the hay cut out there. It was quite tall and quite disturbing to have the people looking for the STI building out there, driving through, passing all of that. It just looked unkempt. So we do need to make sure all of our properties look good to the public. Beyond that,
Can I ask you a question before you get on? Sure. Now, when I was out there the other day, it had been freshly cut. So are we saying that we're not doing it often enough?
during the summer months, yes, that's my opinion too. But, Kevin can talk to you about his plans on what we're gonna be doing to try to control that. It's not cheap. It's not this zero turn mowers out there, it's big tractors and bush hoggers when they have to do it. I think we could let it grow up this tall, no taller than it's this tall, and it was this tall. So, and as I said, they did cut hay on it this year, so. I don't know what the disposition of the hay was, I don't know if there's a rule about that or not, I didn't have anything to do with that. But anyway, that was done. The other thing that has been going on is, I've been in direct communication with a couple of 3 companies, that have expressed strong desire to make something happen there at the industrial park. The first that I want to talk about is, a group called Transport EQ. And that is basically an international organization which their primary responsibility is the training and certification of commercial drone aircraft. Okay? They've had 3 visits down here, but this week, this past couple of days, they had the owner of the company come down and tour well, we've been looking at the STI building for that particular group. As you might know, we've discussed that one of the eligible activities for an economic development corporation is developing skills training centers. And we have to specifically address those skills that are in the greatest demand in the industrial rounds of what an A corporation does. So we are really right now focusing on an industrial opportunity that we have with the aircraft industry. So drones are aircraft. But anyway, they are very much concerned and interested in getting a facility at the airport, all the way from their director on down to their field service manager that brought it here. Her name is Jessie Adams. Is it Jerry Adams? Jerry Adams. And she's actually born and raised here in Jasper. And their bosses told her to start looking for a place to do the training. She said, I know where there's an airport and an industrial park, and they're side by side. They didn't know at the time about STI building. We knew, and the building is for sale. And we've been talking to the realtor that's handling it for the STI Corporation. There are no takers on it right now, but I assume that the word gets out that we've got some development going on around here, it's probably an investment opportunity. So hopefully, maybe at the next meeting, we'll bring, I hope that, Mr. Chairman, if you will appoint a committee to work with me on these incoming businesses, so where we can vet them and make sure that we've got the right companies looking at us and who are serious about doing their job. They're not asking us for any money, they're just asking for space, and they of course will pay rent. If we're the owners of the building, they'll have to pay rent. They know that, and it's not an issue. The second company that's doing that, next month, you'll probably get a detailed report on the activities of Spectre Aeronautics. For the past couple of months, after my initial meeting with them, I didn't know anything about it. After my initial meeting with them and then follow-up sessions, I'm quite impressed with their overall operations out there. There were some comments made about, they're not doing anything out there, JEDCO's not making them do what they're supposed to do, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know about any of that past thing, but I do know that they're extremely busy with the tasks that are ahead. But let me just clarify one thing, there's some vague wording in original economic development agreement that they will be manufacturing airplanes there, or some kind of kit or something. I asked them directly, I said, are you manufacturing airplanes? And they said, yes, actually, we have already completed our first aircraft, and then now we're working on a second one, and we have a buyer for that one, and we look to get quite a number of other offers. I said, okay, so yeah, I saw the first aircraft. It's designed based on a World War II two-seater fighter plane. It's got a special engine, designed and manufactured, a Corvette engine, new from the factory, that they made compatible with aircraft regulations to take an 8-cylinder with 8 spark plugs, and in order to guarantee the engine keeps running, if a spark plug fails, it now has 16 spark plugs. The idea is to keep the motor running long enough to cripple into an airport somewhere. That's the story that I get on pilots. They gotta keep flying until it gets to the ground. So, I think their engineering skills are superb out there. They have electricity, I don't know the terminology, gentlemen technicians who work on all of the new navigation equipment that goes into airplanes now. We're talking about privately owned aircraft, not corporate aircraft. But most people are having to upgrade their older airplanes to be safe, to meet FAA safety requirements, to be safe, and they're coming to Spectre Air because they have such a good reputation since they've been operating since 2019 here, that they're getting calls from all over the United States to bring in a plane. Well, in this coming December meeting, I asked them what your plans were. We wanted to have a report. Yes, I did discuss in detail with them the things that they have done to comply with their contract. They're very much aware of that. But then again, they said, how come y'all haven't renewed our lease on time? Well, I can't explain why, but we're working on that for them. But nonetheless, they want to amend the lease to do a couple of new things out there. So we'll get a detailed presentation from them on what they would like to see done. Now remember this, when we talk to them, they don't own the building, and they're not asking us to give them the money that the building they own. It's not that. The things that they're asking for are improvements to our property, okay? One issue that exists is that when we built the airport industrial park, and I was executive director when that all happened, they fenced in the area around closest to the industrial park with our money. And we built I said another act of Congress. We got special permission from the FAA to go and took a taxiway directly on the main runway and bring it into the airport industrial park where planes could come in and go in for maintenance and repair and whatever else on our side of the airport. Now on the other side, on the west side of the airport, the county has a lot of hangars and things out there. I'll just say this quickly, the Spectre has leased at least 3 of those hangars so they could get some work done that they couldn't do effectively in the one hangar that we have on site, and they built a paint shop out there. When you go on tour, that I want y'all, as many of you as I can get out there, I want you to go on that, you'll see some of the paint work that they do on these airplanes. You've seen automobiles who get special paint jobs. Some of these planes are just fantastic. And that all is designed and painted and carried out in that facility. The other thing that they've done is they buy equipment, some of the equipment that JEDCO bought, I think maybe even on our terms, was to parts that were used to manufacture other parts. They can take and make a copy of an existing part that's broken down and machine it down to working on the plane that they're installing. They've got pretty much a factory base to it. The number one problem is space. So they don't really like the idea of being across the airport. You have to cross an active runway, et cetera, and there's probably more planes than we realize that are coming in out there lately. But they do and they have to. So they're gonna be looking for expansion space in the future, your future. So we wanna get in line with what that is. I will add to that I had a long talk with Judge Allen today. He had asked me a month or so ago to look into the records that we had in the old JEDCO, which that's almost impossible, but nonetheless, we have some drawings here that are from the engineering part of the old airport. I know that the Brandon Corporation, who did the engineering for us then, is still available, and they are working with the airport now on some improvements that Judge Allen seems to want very much to widen and lengthen the airport runway in order to accommodate more heavy aircraft. I don't know if you saw the news this morning, but they talked about FAA shutting down percentages of flights allowed to go in a lot of the major airports. Where are they gonna go? They're gonna have to pick smaller airports somewhere in the United States. I think we don't have much chance to get any 747 jets in here or anything like that. But we do have a lot of cargo carrying planes that could come into our airport. And I'm thinking that's what they're thinking. Now, the second aspect of it is, everybody is trying to get prepared for, dry conditions in Texas, and that means water's gonna be scarce, and that means fire hazards are gonna be high.
Hey, Tom, you have a question?
Yes, sir.
Just getting back to, what is their proposal, what is their ask from us, so we can move forward? What is their ask and what is it?
They do not have access to a lot of stuff that they have on computers and show on
What are
screen.
they asking us for, is my question.
Amendment to their lease, which is going to be the new things that we're being asked to put in.
Yeah, I thought you had already moved on to what Mr. Allen was wanting to know. Spectre, we're gonna talk about the lease here, later on the agenda, but I thought you were now talking about the extension of the runway, which is a separate issue, right?
Yeah, those are issues I've been working with
Okay.
in conjunction with the county. And so I think that, those are well-founded things, and they're asking JEDCO as part of the economics office in Austin that, they think that that's a good thing. So anyway, we're looking at, support, but, not only do they are interested in expanding their operations, they know that they are hiring. They currently have 20 employees there. Somewhere, and I have to get a written report on it, but verbally, they tell me they've got 20 employees, and most of them make $30 an hour.
Okay, so we're back to Spectre again then.
Well, yeah, we're on the spectrum. So, but the idea is that, these things require a lot of discussion, and we're still working with that, but I'm gonna tell you that there will be a meeting that you will, probably do at one of these meetings, for them to make a proposal on this. Also, probably the drone operator would be asked to be here to do the same thing, and so we can get a good understanding of what it is, exactly it is that they want to do. But Yes, ma'am.
So you had an opportunity to meet the owner of this particular, oh, you did?
Well, the head lady, I don't know, she's the owner of it, I don't know whether they're corporate with members or not, you know.
So you just met with one individual, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So anyway, they would, her husband said, we ought to live here, move away from Dallas. I said, come on. But anyhow, those are prospects that I think are well worthwhile.
Well, we'll look forward to, them putting together the presentation and.
It is,
Now,
from what I've seen, it's extremely interesting.
to answer your question, that proposal hasn't been presented to us yet. When we toured the facility, they talked about what some of their future needs are. What's on the agenda tonight is just the extension of their current needs, so not to be confused with the two.
Yeah.
There's no ask other than the extension on this agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's industrial type work is what we're doing for once. So, of course, I've been looking into the issue of the sports facility. The biggest problem I'm having with all of this is, I know our treasurer says that we've got, on financial report, a balance of about $9 million. I don't know if that includes our assets, or is that
It has
cash in the
not-
bank?
It has not been updated, I'll get to that when I
Okay.
get the report.
But, what we need to start doing in order to do projects, which is what the state expects you to call it, when you get ready to spend money, you have to identify it as a project. So when we get ready to do projects, we need to allocate funds that's set aside so we can track the ups and downs in our budget. Because I honestly think that things are fixing to happen for Jasper County. I think that there's gonna be a lot of improvements here in the industrial sector, because of the three issues. The chairman, because of his knowledge of, the power industry and such as that. There are only three big things that an industry requires right now, and must have. A lot of land, availability of space to build, a lot of power, natural gas, sun, wind, whatever power we got. We even have a place over here that's producing jet fuel out of wood, so that works as power. And last thing, water. The meeting in, Sam Houston University yesterday, no. Yeah, not Sam Houston, a little place away. Stephen F. Austin, the meeting at Stephen F. Austin yesterday was all about water, Texas water prices. And it was good, a good report for us.
Sure.
Pretty bad, you know, the rivers management, the things that they were doing was real hard. Well, compliment Nicole, she had a part in the panelists up there at the meeting, and they were talking about the need for adult education, and they brought that need around to replace the people who worked in basically the water industry. And it was said that if you had a certification of certain jobs that are required for the river authorities, they can get a good paid job and make it last a lifetime. So they were talking about places to do that training. So we need to find our role with that in those unmet needs, training needs. And fortunately, we have Nicole available to kind of guide me through who does what. So I think that's been really good.
Tom, thank you for your report for the second time. I'm
Glad to do it.
One of the things, Tom, that you were hitting on there at the end, that's very important to me, is getting together with this board and working with the city for a strategic plan. And that flows right into what you were talking about there at the end as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate all of y'all, all of your help.
Mr. Brooks?
Good evening. I gave all the board members a handout of some of the activities that for this past, month. The time they can probably gonna highlight some of the main ones. One thing that was mentioned in one of the previous board meetings about the fiscal assets and properties of JEDCO. So if you go to page 2 of our activity report, you'll see a printout of the, presentation tab showing the property of, JEDCO. And what I did, I numbered 1 through 12. And then if you go to the next page, you'll see, the location. And based on those numbers, I identified each one of those locations from 1 to 12. And at the bottom of that, you'll see a summary. So basically, just kind of just tell you what you're looking at. JEDCO has 5 pieces of property. 1, I'm gonna go, okay, 1, 2, and 10 is active in the industrial park. Okay, 1, 2, and 10 is active in the industrial park. Number 11 is active in the industrial park, but it's set out, that's Spectrum. That's located with Spectrum Aerodynamics is. Location 3 and 4 are part of the purchase of the sports complex. And I got a map I'm gonna kind of show you all in a minute how they relate. And also give 5 through 9 are the parking lot on East Houston Street that available mostly used, but it's owned by JEDCO, and it's open to the public, but it is actually owned by JEDCO. And then 12 is where we are now, the Working Center.
Mr. Brooks, let me ask a question of you. When we get these reports from the assessor, I'm gonna guess they come to this office?
I'm gonna say yes, but I was thinking it would come
I
to.
have not seen them yet, so
Okay.
this is all good information for me to update.
I pulled this off the site, but,
Oh, okay.
the board director, I mean, I can find out, and I thought, they should come anyway, it should be coming, but I'll follow up on that.
Well, the question I was gonna ask you is, you know, the land value out there was up significantly this year as far as the tax assessment. We need to start questioning some of these appraised values when they come in, because the significant jump, and I was trying to work the numbers for 5 million for 240 acres, and the math just didn't work in my, that's per acre, that's way out of bounds for what the property's worth. So we need to, part of maintaining our property though, is also to see what's being assessed to that property value, even though we don't pay taxes, that does impact the value of that property when somebody does buy it from us or does something else. We need to start being diligent about what the assessed value is as well.
Okay.
And actually protesting some of those values if we need to.
So I will go ahead and go to each one of these properties on the website from the President District, and I'll make a file for each one with the current values and track them.
I'll work with you on that, Kenneth. I'll work with you on that.
Okay. So we're gonna take, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a little trip. If you all would put this, because it's color coded, and it may be kind of hard to follow, but if you all would get this map here, because everybody may not know where the industrial park is at. So, if you go out 190 west, when you go through the intersection, 190 and 63, and you continue west, you will, there's a storage building unit on your left there. JEDCO, number 3, JEDCO purchased that 4 acres behind the storage building from Lone Star Association. Then also, you look at this little area here, that is the existing old ballpark. That's 10 acres, so that's the 14 acres that on Highway 190, that we, JEDCO purchased from the youth, Lone Star Youth Baseball Association. And then directly behind that is all the red line that you see, that's the 205 acres that was purchased from the Jones Enterprise. And this area here is actually the industrial park. I don't know if you all can see it, but somebody may be familiar, but that would be the STI building that everyone talks about right there. Yeah, yeah, six. So that's kind of give you a general idea of location of where the properties are. And, now, before I move on from there, like, I'm not gonna talk a bunch of time, if you have any questions about the map and on where the location of the properties are,
I'm gonna make an assumption there's no utilities on that 240 acres, right?
that's correct.
Right.
Well, on the 205 acres now, the whole ballpark, everything is dead, but it was a utility at one time.
So they have water and
You
electricity.
used to have water and electricity out there for the ballpark.
So did you meet with the sports complex, committee members, and who were they?
I got it, it's further down, but you took mention, but I go ahead and talk about it now. So I did have a meeting with the sports committee, members that was mentioned in the previous board meeting.
Who was that?
That are, myself, the Queen Hildebrand, Charles Warren, C.S. Stover, and, I think it's just five.
Chris Lanier.
And Chris Lanier. Those are the ones that were recognized by this board. And we did meet, about a couple of weeks ago. And just kind of give you a brief update. All we did was kind of do the introduction, kind of feel what we were in the past. And I would like to remind the board that this is not something that is gonna happen overnight. We just wanna take the time and what I would like to, if the board, this is a committee that y'all know about, but I would like to bring individuals in the community, like the Little League program, TV football, just some more input that we try to gather information to bring you all, if you all be more knowledgeable of what is trying to be done. In the meantime, from the previous, we did reach out to a company that had data from the past, and they're not at this time charging anything, but we did ask them to kind of start looking at what it would take to, if nothing else, just get that property out there in some presentable site.
I just think the board probably need to be revisited. I understand that there are 5 on that board, but I think there needs to be some people on that board from this new JEDCO.
Yeah, it is.
That's just my recommendation.
And it can be, that was just the initial one that was on it, I asked to just use those to get started. I think the Queen is from the previous board, but it can have as many board members. I agree.
I just think it needs to be a diverse board with members of here.
And I think we're-
as well.
Isn't that on the
It
agenda?
is, it's
Yeah,
item
no.
I didn't hear
G,
you.
item G.
Yeah,
It's on item G.
but I'll just.
Okay, hold on, that's my fault, but I just read the agenda which you had.
Oh,
And so that's
okay,
what I was.
yeah, it was just my activity report, yeah, okay. And, but from that meeting, it was basically just kind of get the feel of what, that in the past, what was done, and what can we do.
So let me ask you a question. Obviously, JEDCO is not gonna have the money to do this project. I mean, it's a huge project. We bought the land, and we've already given, if I'm not mistaken, $215,000 to some of the existing ballparks since 2009. When you say the previous advisory board has gotten together, has there been any
When I say together, I only met with them after this board approved those names.
But no discussion of how somebody's planning on financing this or
So,
anything
now,
else?
answer that question, I was on that previous board when the land was purchased, well, no, when I was on the board, I was in the capacity I am now, but the thing is that if JEDCO was to purchase the property, but it's always been an intent to go out and look for developers, investors, people that actually take these type facilities and they construct them from the ground up and operate them. And that's the aspect that was doing it, gonna try to take, and still gonna try to do it. Like I said, we give, even if we can bring on many we want to, but we wanna try to gather information, be able to bring back information to this board that is not, and something that maybe we can work with. That is the goal, is to try to attract individual investors that would be willing to take on a task like this from construction to the operation.
So just to confirm real quick, the interim executive director passed out a sports complex packet. So this has nothing to do with the sports complex, we're not in the,
Well, I don't know if you want to talk about, but that still would be information that would be enhanced.
so you're just giving information on a sports
Yeah.
complex, it is not a project that is in the works.
No.
Well, it's up to the board, the land has been purchased, but that's what we want to do, try to bring, you
So,
know.
cause I know in his packet, there was also a map of something that I guess maybe
No,
y'all
no,
were
that is-
looking at.
That is actually, if I'm not mistaken, that may be Franklin Park, that's actually.
This is just something that the
That's an
president
existing,
never
that's
even
an
looked
existing,
at.
that's actually probably Franklin Park was an existing complex in Franklin, Texas.
So just something to look at, not
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, let me go ahead and interject here and talk about what we've done, what we've obligated to and everything else. There was a 2009 election where we got approval to take type A money and fund this project, which is obviously a type B type of facility. So we had the opportunity to buy this land at $3,000 an acre, and the board did that, the previous board did that. It was, I guess, I wasn't here at the time when they bought it, but below market, or right at.
Well, no market, one thing too, the family that, the Jones family that actually, sold the property, they actually had an interest in, that was kind of, did it like they did it, because they were, on the idea that we'll be trying to do a sports complex. That's the price for $3,000 acre, but they did, in the contract, they did retain the timber to harvest. And that's, those that go out there, they're 205 acres, you know, that 205 acres. So I'm gonna just jump around, cause it's gonna tie in, so basically, like.
Before you go on.
No, it's all, go ahead.
So we purchased the land. They have the wooding rights and everything else. We own the land, so once they remove the wood, we have the responsibility of keeping that land up and including up to and including stump removal. We don't, whether we plant grass or anything else, there's no obligations for that land other than that. We own that land. Yes, there might have been some intent, but it's not in the contract that it has to be used for a baseball complex. We own the land. Now, you know, there was that money set aside, but we've also given, you know, that's why I mentioned the fact that we previously had given about $250,000 to different sports facilities since 2009. So one could make the argument that we have fulfilled the obligations of that bond or whatever else. So to me, if we get any other proposals or anything else, it's in addition. There's nothing else other than we have an advisory committee. We're gonna talk about putting current board members on that advisory committee, but no other obligations at this time for this ballpark. And I have some strong feelings on this ballpark. You know, JEDCO's responsibility is economic development, not necessarily community development. And a ballpark falls into that. Even though we did have an election for this, I think we have fulfilled our obligation. If this board decides to move forward with the projects and stuff, we're gonna have to have somebody come in and put up the money to do this, because I don't believe, if we fund this project, we're not gonna have any money for economic development. That's just putting it bluntly.
Well, I'm gonna speak, freely and frankly, the intent was never that JEDCO was gonna be in the sports complex business. At the time, buying 5 acres of land, $3,000, maybe some of you all can go buy some land.
That's an investment.
So, but I just, Monday, we don't,
Point about it. Sure. Can we focus on the status, which is supposed to be getting
Okay.
down, which
Thank
might
you.
solve the problem. So let's, point of order, can we focus on the status?
Yeah, I was just trying to give some background. This current board didn't get all the background, so go ahead.
and Tom mentioned, I did attend, well, I did attend, air show, Spectre Aeronautics did you make it, Tom? After the air show that they had, I attended, I didn't know if you made it or not. That was one thing that I did. Okay, and then also, I did meet, now we're talking about the industrial park in the morning. I did meet with the current, contractors, and Bill, to answer your question, that was the first cut that I know of being cut, until I was asked to start doing it. So I don't know how many previous cuts it was, but I know they were pretty high and they didn't cut it. And so the current person that was doing it, he cut it for me, for us, and JEDCO, and then also, when he finished, I asked a question about, because you go up at the time, when you go around, you bush all the cut, there wasn't any weed, and all the vegetable box and everything, and tall grass. And so, my understanding that whenever whoever was doing it first, they wasn't weeding either, but I did have them weeded. I'm gonna just let you all know. So, and he will be submitting the invoice, which is his normal cost, was $2,800 for 70-something acres. And that's what he told me was his cost was cutting it at the time. And, I'm gonna see, I think it's like another $1,000 doing the total complex of the weed. Then y'all know, it just didn't look, it looked too bad when it was all back and around everything else grass to top. Now also, I met with Mr. Carter, which was another contractor who was interested in putting in a bid. I don't know if he put the bid in or not, but I did give him a layout of what was needed and what required to be bush hog. Now, maybe you all as the board can answer this for me. I know there was RFPs done, so I don't know what to tell them, so all we know right now, we use an existing contractor to do the landscaping around the office and also landscaping around the parking lot and do the bush. So, are there any, anyone taking any kind of lead,
I got one.
so I don't know how to proceed or let anyone know, guidance from the board on, are we gonna continue on? Or I need to talk to someone else about how we're gonna do things, how we're gonna keep it up. I need to direct it, it won't be handled on. Do we just continue on, maybe it's winter time, so I don't think we need too many more, on it, but, I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll take that up.
Okay, so I mean, I just need, if they're gonna ask me, I need some guidance on what to tell about on that. Also, out there, it's something for y'all to consider, there's a real bad drain just below the taxiway that comes from Spectreville. It's 30 by 700 some odd, there's about roughly 75 plus trees in there, one probably 100 feet. And it's pretty bad. Also, we're gonna try to keep up the rest of the industrial part, and it's running right almost down the middle of it. So that's something that you may want to consider. If you want to clean it up, let me know. If you need to, if you don't do it, it's gonna be something about the bid, something that the existing contractor can do. That's something that I need some guidance on.
One quick question is the drainage system still serving its purpose, or is this a?
Well, it's dry right now.
I understand, when it rains, is it raining?
You asked me something that I wouldn't know until
Yeah.
until that happens, so we haven't been doing it now. So we talked about the bush hogging, and then I did talk with the contractor at the, about doing the clearing for Jones. He will be back in 2 weeks, he said going to determine our use. There's 200 some acres, and I said, like I told you earlier, they have done about half of that. You're gonna have 1 month, so let's see how much rain they got, how much work they actually get done. They have about a year, about 3 months left on the contract to complete the project, on it. And as far as, well, last thing, Tom mentioned about the stabilizing the land out there, but until we actually, start digging up stumps or doing anything like that, it should be naturally stable, but we don't want to be isolated. So I'll come back to y'all as the land gets more clear. Any questions for me?
I have a quick question, but I don't necessarily think that it was for Mr. Brooks, but on the RFPs, do we have deadlines on those, like, there's no deadlines?
There's no deadlines, but when we approved the RFPs, we told them we'd post for about a month, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's a couple of months.
Yeah, so, but it is getting time to assess what we're getting and, you know, to be advertised on and.
And all of the RFPs are on the JEDCO website, it's jasperedc.com, and it's under documents, so actually might be under employment page, so go on that page and we'll have all of the RFPs and also for the executive director as well as the executive assistant.
And we can do one more outreach on the news media as well, and do a release on that, just to make sure everybody that's interested in it.
Yes.
So we can start closing some of these bids. Okay, Ms. Wright?
I'm gonna try to keep this short and sweet. I've included the operating, statements as well as the money market statement so that you could all see. I know that the balance sheets are incorrect and I have to go through and update everything and just go through and see where I'm missing some deposits. When I took over the QuickBooks, they hadn't been updated since, I believe, April or May, so I may have missed an interest payment or a check or something, so have some grace with me. Our operating account opening balance was $161,092.65. We wrote 14 checks in the amount of $8,888.09. We had one deposit for 2 checks, both of which were from Spectra for $3,500 each for their rent lease. And then our money market accounts, we received for the month of September, the tax collected for $110,666.33. It was deposited to the money market account, and the closing balance was $2,745,784.59. Our assets have not been updated, so we will need to get valuations done, property values, in order to have proper numbers assigned to the assets. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, so the overall balance in all of our accounts, do you know what that is, total overall balance? Prior to $2 million, and so forth,
So the money market accounts,
all accounts?
the operating account, and the 2 CD accounts, I do not have the statements from Do Good or, what's the other, Southside. I've looked for statements, I have not found them. I know that we have money in those accounts, but I have not found the statement. So I will continue to search through the records to see if I can find some kind of a statement. I don't have anything.
What's delaying us from obtaining that information?
What's the what?
What's delaying us from obtaining that information?
I haven't received anything from them. I believe that they send a statement once a year for the CDs, because it's just a 1-year term. And I believe that the term is coming due at the end of this year. So we should be getting some kind of paperwork within this coming month. If I can go to the banks, request the statements from them to see where we're at, so I can give you all an accurate number at the next meeting.
Yeah, so currently, we don't know if there's been any activity, against any of those accounts since you've been in charge.
There has not been any activity.
Except for interest.
Yeah, interest, and that's all that we can give, so.
And Mr. Scott, one of the things that, I think we have access to all the accounts now except for the, Southside Bank. I think they're still looking for another signature or something. They wouldn't give us the information until we got all the names and everything transferred. And that's what's taking us time, but I think we can actually go and ask for all the information now, is that correct?
I can get it from Southside. Do Good is the one that we're missing, and that would be due to me, when I got married, I did not get my new social security card, and now that the government's shut down, I can't get a social security card, so it's been applied for, and as soon as that comes back, then I will be able to fill that signature on the do good, bank account.
Not be recognized.
Yes.
So is there any way possible we can go ahead and clear this up and wait until you receive your new documentation with the 3 members on the board?
That would be up to you all.
Well,
Yeah,
what-
but we'll have to reamend the minutes.
Yeah, we
We'll have
can,
to go back.
we can readmit the minutes, but do good, if I'm not mistaken, we think we only have $25 in that account.
No, that's rave,
That's not,
that's rave, mobile
Rave.
oil, yeah.
Rave's the one we only have $25
Yeah.
in the account, just keep it.
Do Good and Southside, we have it, I think it's about $250,000 in each approximately.
Yeah,
I could be a little off on that, but.
but if the board wishes, then yeah, we can amend the minutes, get to the 3, and then add, Ms. Wright, once she gets her proper documentation.
The reason I asked the question is when we joined this board, there was a whole lot of concerns about what our assets are, both liquid assets and physical assets.
Yes.
And so we've been on this board now for a little while. We still have not obtained all the records that were asked of us, present to the city council and make that information available to citizens. And so I feel that it's extremely important that we move forward with finding out what the assets are so that we can provide a report to the council and to the citizens. That way, we're transparent. I want to be completely transparent and take the focus off of this issue because that was one of the issues that I heard when I joined the board. Okay, so the sooner that we can do that, I think the better.
Agreed.
So Tina, that being said, you have access, which one do we need access to complete that report?
Do Good,
Do good.
yes.
So we have all the information except for one. If it's the will of this board, we can, create a new minutes with just the 3 officers. Because with the government shutdown, it might be a while before we get that issue cleaned up.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I move that we move forward with amending the minutes so that we can obtain the records from Do Good.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. We will.
Any other questions?
Okay, next we go on to section 6. The first item is the word shall.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, since I read it is.
Yes.
I can run us through this pretty quick to take care of it.
Feel free.
Okay, thank you. So we move, so now we're up to the bylaws changes that were recommended by the board. And so in section, and the language for, how frequent we meet, currently says shall. I've changed the language from shall to regular meetings. The board meetings are scheduled versus shall be scheduled. And so that's the only change that was made. The board meetings are scheduled. So with that, Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the change to the bylaws in section 4.8 under meetings, with the recommended language that I just mentioned.
Okay. I have a move. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any objections? Any abstentions? Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, the next item is, section 4.14. And the page number would be page 5. And this deals with non-disclosure disagreements. And in your packet, you should have a summary of the terms and conditions, and language for non-disclosure agreements. In section 4.14, it's stated that all board of directors, employees, including temporary, interim, or consultants, must sign a non-disclosure agreement. Again, the terms and conditions of that agreement is in your packet. Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the language that's noted in section 4.14, non-disclosure agreements, along with the attachment with the terms and conditions of the verbiage for the non-disclosure agreement be accepted.
Okay, I have moved, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, sir. On, that page where it says non-disclosure agreement, I think you have Jasper County Economic Development Board. And so that does not match the top of this, because the top of this says Jasper Economic Development Board. So I think that both of those should be the same.
Mhm.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so,
I'll make the amendment. Mr.
Okay,
Scott. But, can we accept the motion and the second and, include the amendment to the documentation that was just mentioned?
Okay, then, to keep this straight, I guess that would have been a friendly amendment.
Yes.
You made the move, you're okay with that, Mr. Sample, you did the second, you're okay with that change? So yes, we accept the change as a friendly amendment. So again, any other discussion?
I just have a quick question on the non-disclosure agreement. I do understand that, but, I didn't see if we were doing, the conflict of interest that the city council was talking about, are we supposed to sign that as well?
Yes.
Okay,
That's a different.
so that's not going in our bylaws, though, we just have to do that because the city council.
Well, we're gonna have a code of ethics.
Code of ethics, not conflict of interest, code of ethics is the next,
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I just thought when they were at the city council with the, audit that they have, that was one of the recommendations, that all entities sign that conflict of interest that the city council has, that's.
I believe that's covered in code of ethics as well, right?
yeah, it is. Code of ethics.
Okay, any other discussion on the change for the code of conduct?
Do we, if you change, do we need to, as a meeting place, is just a Sound Raven area of Chamber of Commerce, is that where we want to?
Now, that's this building here.
That's what they call this building?
Yeah.
Or the Weapons Center?
Now,
Does it, the wording, does that matter?
well, that's, I don't know what this building is commonly recognized as. I guess we can change it to the building residing at this address.
Yeah, I can make this change.
So, another family amendment, you okay with that, Mr. Sample, you okay with that? We'll make the change to where the building residing at the address, instead of referring to it as the Chamber of Commerce building. Any other recommendations? Okay, I'm gonna call the vote, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, the next, item is code of ethics, section 4.15 on page 5. All board of directors, employees, including temporary, interim, or consultants, must sign a code of ethics agreement. And the code of ethics documentation is also emailed and should be a part of this package. Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that we, accept the terms and conditions noted in the code of ethics document as presented.
Okay, I have a motion,
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Just wanted to point out that item number 3 under this contract is the conflict of interest. So any other discussion? Okay, call the vote, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay,
The next item, Mr. Chair, is section 5.58, column area, which is on page. 7. 5.58, parliamentary on page 7.
Okay.
Which is general language for the duties and responsibilities of parliamentarians. Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the language and the terms and conditions as noted under 5.58 parliamentarian as presented.
Okay, I have a movement, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Let's go ahead and recognize Terry Owens. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay,
And the last, recommended change is section 7, reporting to the city council for approval, any contractual amount over $85,000. And so that's section 7 on page.
Mr. President, before he completes, can I be recognized?
yes,
If you look on that page, 7.12, I think you have 87,000. I think the city council voted 5,000.
That is correct. The amended version of the bylaws was emailed to everyone, which is correct on the dollar amount.
Okay, I'm putting it on.
So page 10, item 7.12, Board of Contractual Spending, cap. Should be $85,000. So in the amended version of the bylaws that I sent, which was the second email, should have included the correct amount of
And I may
$85,000.
have grabbed the wrong one, when I put the board packet.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So, apologies.
Okay, no problem.
okay, so,
So with that, Mr. Chair, I move that, we accept section 7.12, board contractual spending cap, as noted in the correct version of the bylaws of $85,000.
okay, I have a motion, and a second. Mr. Sample seconds, any discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote on that, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, before we get off that one, it's still my intention to present to the city council any substantial projects that we're working on, regardless of whether it's under $85,000. Of course, we need board approval, we need council approval if it's $85,000. Just wanted to state to this board, it could be my intention to go in front of the city council every time we are moving on a substantial project, so. Okay, this came up, item B, and Mr. Scott, you sent out
Not included in this packet.
not included in the packet. Discussion and consider for approval, traveling and lodging reimbursement policy.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I recommend that we postpone discussion on travel and lodging reimbursement policy until the board has had an opportunity to review the terms and conditions that I shared with you.
I'll make a second on that.
Second. So we have a motion to table this until a later date. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. Is there any way possible we can get a copy of the city, lodging and mileage? And that way we have some kind of comparison, so we can somewhat be in the same order with the city? Since we are under the umbrella of the city.
I can request that. That's a fair one.
Okay, with that understanding, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposition? Any abstention? Okay, that motion is tabled. Or the item is tabled. Okay, discussion and consider for approval renewal of Spectre Aeronautics Brawl lease. While we were out there, while I was out there visiting with them, they have been paying under the original terms and conditions of the contract. That contract, has been expired for a while. They expressed interest in renewing that contract. They are willing to, they told me they were willing to even do a 30-year contract understanding on a 30-year contract is, and I told him, I said, you know, if for some reason y'all close down, they would be on the hook for the lease until it's released to somebody else, so, you know, that would be the understanding, so, any discussion from this board or motions on, extending the contract and offering them even up to a 30-year contract?
Just a point of reference, so currently they pay $3,500 a month.
That is correct.
That's $42,000 a year. Over 30 years, that'll be 1.2 million. I just wanted to make that as a point of reference.
Well, I think if we're gonna do something, adding to that property, I don't know about the 3,500 staying at that certain amount, especially when things are rising at this particular time. I'm not for that, not for the 30 years, that's just my opinion, I'm not for that. I feel that over a period of time, if you have a house, you rent it out for a period of time and you make some renovations to that home, that means the price will probably go up. So, I'm not for that, not for 30 years.
Okay. Well, that's just something that threw
I
out
know,
there.
yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm not for that.
Maybe Dr. Nurse?
I didn't hear you, sorry.
Maybe.
Yes,
Would there be a way that we could structure that 30 years with like an incremental increase every 3 to 5 years?
we can build in or request anything that the board suggests. I mean, it's one of those things where you have a tenant and we have an investment at a fair rate. They've been a good tenant. You know, we have to do some improvements on the upkeep of the building that we haven't necessarily been doing. But my take on it though is if we do the lease, it's for the current facilities. If we do an extension or an add-on to that, that is a whole separate discussion as far as I'm concerned. Because, what we're talking about is a lease for the existing facilities that they've been in the building. If we don't wanna approve a 30-year lease, we don't have to. If we wanna put escalators in there, that's open, so. But they do want, what do you call it? Certainty of what the lease is gonna be, so we need to do something.
Because it looks like to me the lease was, let me recognize the president.
Yeah.
So, looks like the lease was expired in 2019. So they've been working without a lease for a long period of
They
time.
have been in good phase.
How long was their lease? The original was for how many
8
years?
months.
That never was renewed. Yes, welcome to cleanup. So, but they have not missed payment. They've been paying without a contract.
I'm not in agreement for a 30-year lease. That's a long time. If they do that, we can always.
Okay,
I make a motion that we renew their lease for 5 years.
okay, I have a motion, do I have a second? Okay, discussion.
I think that's a wise decision, the 5 years. Now, I go with that. And then also, is the lawyer gonna in turn review this contract that we have, and he's gonna go back over it, so we can make sure there's no loopholes in this contract that was written?
We can give him that duty, yes.
Yeah.
One of the things, so, just to address your issue, if we only do it for 5 years, do you need an escalator in there, or is that?
Well, I was thinking, sort of like how the Bales contract with their, who they're leasing from, they're doing 5-year options, and they have first refusal. So I think that would be some terminology that we might wanna look at. And, I mean, I would expect as a business owner to pay an increase in rental space since they've been paying the same amount for the last 7 years.
So, that being said, the suggestion, Mr. Getz, was to, talk about options at the end of it, where they have a right of first refusal, but we have the right to go up on the lease if we want to. They have a paying us without even a lease. I don't know what, you know, and Tom, you tell me if there's anybody else knocking on the door to wanna occupy the hangar out there either, there might be. I mean, it's one of those things where we have to judge the interest of our investment with the interest of, you know, the clients as well, so. We have a motion, and I guess your motion was to keep the price the same?
Can we discuss something? I think they also mentioned that they may have other LLCs or operation leasing space inside the building, is that correct? I kinda had that impression when we visit. There may be other LLC that is also leasing.
It's their own.
Yeah, we're gonna have, I know that they're also providing, aviation services out there, and that's under a different LLC. Our agreement, I believe, is with Spectre. But yeah, I got the impression they have more than one LLC.
I
And,
believe it's they own right, airplane hangars on the other side, plus they rent several of them over there.
I was just concerned to make sure that when they lease other LLC, that releases something in writing, that releases liability from us.
Like sublet.
Because if something major happens and these other companies is leasing from them, if we don't put something in writing, a lot of liability can fall on us.
so that would be, Mr. Getz, I think what he's bringing up is that if Spectre goes under, but they're still doing business as, is that language we can put in there?
Yes, there is, and we need to make sure that we include all the legal entities that are going to be occupying the space.
Okay, so that's a good suggestion, it won't be just with one entity, it would be with the entities that are using the space, and how they decide to pay us the $3,500 would be their business, but we will make sure that all their LLCs are also in. That's a good suggestion. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, I'm gonna call the vote, all in favor? Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, Tom, we have approval to extend the lease for 5 years, Mr. Getz will work with you on the language of that. Does it sound like we do need to get, some additions to that language? Okay, this is something that came up in the guards report as well, something I'm not opposed to, because the executive director, when we do hire a full-time executive director, will be working closely with the city. But consider for approval that when we do hire an executive director, they will be approved by the city council as well.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I move that when hired, the executive director candidate be brought forward to city council for approval. Excuse me.
Okay, I have a motion,
Second.
Yes, sir.
I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposition? Okay, one opposition. Any abstention? Okay, all that being said, one of the things we ought to consider is putting that, requirement in the bylaws at some point in time.
Mr. Scott?
Okay, discussion and consider for approval, security system bids for the JEDCO building. And since how you've been working on that, Mr. Scott, you've sent out some information.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we had 2 bids, actually I had 3 companies that were recommended, only 2 of them responded to my request. The first bid is from Advanced Systems, Alarm Systems, and they're out of Beaumont. And the second bid is from, I believe, AET. I have both alarm, bag access, and fire alarm systems bid from Advanced Systems, Alarm Systems. And then for AET, basically the same. The fire alarm for AET was resubmitted for consideration. I didn't share that with you, but I can at a later date. Well, I can tonight if you like. But their bid went from what it currently is in the package to $21,000. I would think that. I would give a serious consider what that is going to move forward. It went from, what, about 17,000 to 21,000. The bid from Advanced Systems, the fire alarm system was 16,000, 982, which is, right at 17,000, but certainly about 3,000 less than ADT with their answer. And with that, I'd like to put a caveat in this general discussion. I had recommendations from, one of the members of the board, a couple of members of the board contacting these companies. I also like to preface that I don't have any relationship with anybody from these companies, so there's not a conflict of interest there. But my recommendation to the board would probably be Advanced Systems Alarm Services. They're currently doing the fire extinguishers here in the building. Okay, they're in Beaumont. ADT is certainly a reputable company. They got a huge customer base, and they're I think they're well known in the United States. I'm not gonna say they're world known, but they're well known in the United States for the services that they provide, much larger company. But the reason I would recommend, just the board's decision, the reason I'm recommending Advanced Systems is because they're not that far from us, and they service the DFW area, Beaumont, and I think some of the other surrounding areas in East Texas. So that would be my recommendation. But it's the board's decision to make.
I have a recommendation, but I do not have a movement. The recommendation is to go with Advanced Technology. I'm open to receiving a motion.
I'll go for that.
Okay, Mr. Semple makes a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, any discussion? So my understanding, Mr. Scott, is also Advanced Systems has a more comprehensive package from my discussions with you.
Right.
Than what ADT was, they were gonna partner with some other people to provide some of the services.
Right.
So that's another reason why I think, and does ADT, where would they service this contract out of if we were to give it to them? Out of Houston. Yeah. So any other questions or discussion?
So is this gonna include a key fob, or this is totally something different?
No, we didn't agree to keep but we agreed to bad assets.
Yes.
So it'd be bad.
And that's with the logger though, right?
Right.
Yeah. In other words, when you use the badge, it's logged, so we know who comes in, who goes out.
Maybe that's recommends.
Yes.
Will that be on all doors as well, or is that just for the main entrance?
Just the main entrance.
So what are we doing with the doors?
From an alarming standpoint, there will be, glass breaks in the offices, this office here and the office of the executive director. And there will be motion detectors in the lobby area to pick up any movement.
Okay, so we will have to still rekey the office doors to an actual key.
Yeah, that's the cheapest route.
Yes, okay, I just wanted to clarify, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Even though we solicited bids for these systems, how does this cost relate to our approved budget of the year? And what kind of impact does it have? Well, you may not have the answer to that question tonight, but that's something that we ought to seriously consider. Because budgeted line items, I don't know if there's any miscellaneous spending options in the budget or not. But if we approve this amount and move forward, then it needs to align with what we agreed to in the budget, because that was presented to the city, and the city approved it based on what we shared with them. And so I'd like to know what the impact would be.
I can look into that and let me know.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we, a suggestion, not a requirement, but do you want to change the motion pending that the money is available to us in the budget?
Mr. Chair, I think we move forward with accepting the proposals, but then we have some research to do. So we can make a motion to move forward with
Yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring up one other thing to consider as well. I don't know if we have a line item budget in there, or whether if that's anything or not. What I am concerned about, and what I have been concerned about, is that this building doesn't have any fire protection, it doesn't have any, so, I'm afraid that if we don't do this action, our insurance on this building are gonna go up, and that's not budgeted either.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I agree, but I'm just trying.
I understand your concern, and we ought to check into that, but my point is if we don't move forward with this, we have a liability that can bite us as well.
Right. That's a good point.
So, okay, I'm gonna call the vote, there's no other discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstention? Okay, motion carries. Okay, discussion and, reporting requirements for existing contracts. I'd like to start this one off by saying, Tom has suggested that we come up with a form for our customers to be able to utilize. My only pushback, and I'm fine with the form, but one of the things is I don't know if every one of our contracts are uniform. I guess that's something we can look at. If they're uniform, the form works well. If they're not uniform, then we have to have a different form for each contract to address. But one of the things that is concerning me is when they did the forensic audit at the city. And, Tom, even in your report, I don't need to be reminded that the reporting of the existing contracts that still have benchmarks to prove have been, not up to what I would call auditable standards. We're gonna fix that. I do believe monthly is too much. Quarterly reports, are good, but I want an exhaustive annual report. And what I mean by exhaustive annual report, I want proof of employment, how long, not just names. Reporting, it's, when I was working with Mr. Getz on the Bills contract, we got it in the contract where we're supposed to have W-2s, we're supposed to have proof of how long. So I don't want somebody hiring somebody and then a week later they're not hired, but they submit the name as meeting the requirements. We need to understand how long they were employed, whether they're meeting the terms and conditions that they signed in the contract. And I do believe that would be an annual report. I mean, this is just me talking right now, I'm only one of 14. But I would still like, just quarterly updates, because one of the things I don't think we've done in the past is even when we have success stories, we haven't been telling the story. And I think we've had some success stories, I think we've had some challenges, but I want them to come tell us what they're doing and the good things. Now, if quarterly's too much, even semi-annually, I would be happy with that. So with that, I'll open the floor for discussions or potential motions.
There are statements and regulations that particularly say you will report these things, but that's mandatory. But in my form, for us, we will have a category under called other, and we will add to, as we do a contract, somebody will add the specifics.
Like bills, we're gonna discuss that later on, but, if there's a provision in there that has something that we're requiring them to do, we need proof that they're doing it. So that's all I'm saying.
That would follow sort of the justification of the final expense report, if you've already asked them for invoices already in the agreement.
So in my opinion, we're not asking for anything that's not already in the contract. We're just trying to specify what the board would like for reporting requirements. So how often would the board like for them to come in and, on an annual basis to have comprehensive, that's where I'm wanting this discussion to go. And if we don't have any other suggestions other than what's in the contract, I'm okay with that too.
If we're discussing, then I would agree. I think a 1-year, report that comes in, that it gives you everything that you asked for in the contracts, and then we invite them at least twice a year to just come and speak even in public comment or however, just to give us an update on what's going on, but DECA is completely grant funded. We have lots of grants that are worth $500,000, $1 million, whatever. I have never been asked to give more than a 1-year report. They're detailed. You can put in there what you want, but monthly's insane to me.
I agree.
So I think a 1-year report that gives you everything that was put into their contract. I would make it to where the month that they're given the money, either that report falls 1 year from that, or, you know, however you wanna do it. From the time they get the money, then you could give them a 1 year each year after that.
I just got a question. In any new business in its infant stages, there needs to be checks and balances in place to make sure that they're meeting the demands of the contract. So if you do that once a year for any new business, then it's gonna be hard to measure how effective they are based on the plan that we agreed to, or the contract that we agreed to. So maybe there should be a provision for new businesses, 6 months versus a year. That would be the recommendation I would make.
You could also do it per group. I mean, it doesn't have to be everyone 1 a year. Whoever you write the contract with, put in the contract, we want you to report to us in 6 months. We want you to report you could just make it, depending on who you're giving a contract to as well. You don't have to make it.
Terry?
So my question is that, so when we give the funds out, we give a whole blanket of funds out at one time, or do we do, benchmarks? I mean, so much this time, so much that time, or, I don't know, this is just a question, and you may know, or do we give, if it's $200,000 funding that they need, we give them the whole $200,000, or we break it down to benchmarks? When this is completed, you get that. When that's completed, you get that.
Well,
That's just my,
here's the complication to that.
Okay.
We earmark the money when they meet when they do the work that's been tagged for the money to go out the door.
that's like,
And the second part of the contract though was, they said they were gonna have so many employees, they said they were gonna do that. That has nothing to do with meeting the benchmark when the money went out the door. So, for example, Gated Reynolds, when they met some benchmarks, they spent the money, they would show us the invoice, we would give them money. A separate part of the contract says they're supposed to have so many employees and everything else, that we would have given them money because they gave us the invoice that the work was done, that we targeted. But the other part of the contract says they're supposed to have, and I don't have the contract in front of me, 20, 30 employees. And they're supposed to be full-time employees and everything else. That's not part of when we expend the money. Does that make sense?
it makes sense, but, I'm still thinking that it should be given out in increments. Don't agree with me, I just feel like it should be given out in increments. Because that would give them an opportunity to do some things and complete one benchmark before they go to the next benchmark and get the funding for that. That's just my suggestion.
I think it definitely depends on what they're asking for, right? Some of them might need, but typically, if I'm right, the way JEDCO typically ran was they were reimbursed. So the company paid for what they needed, JEDCO reimbursed them once that project was
That's
complete.
my understanding.
Okay, so I didn't know that.
They weren't just like giving you 400,000 and now you're gonna go make your project. If the project was like part of building for Vallis, when this section was being done and they put out bids for this part, Vallis paid, JEDCO reimbursed once that project was complete.
Well, as a new
We
board
build
member,
that.
it's a matter of
Yeah.
So as a new board member, I did not know that. And I'm glad that it was explained to me at this particular time, because I did not know. Thank you.
But you're right, I mean, we might have given the money, they completed the project, let's just say in April. In December, I still wanna make sure they're meeting their employment parts of that contract, you know what I'm trying to say, because that's an important part of it. Because we're supposed to increase jobs, and that's what we're trying to monitor.
Maybe for correctness.
Yes.
So I think it's going to truly depend on who the contracts are
Scott said, the new business needs to come in maybe every quarter or every, 6 months or whatever it is. An established business, i.e. Bales, comes with their reporting with their W-2s once a year. So I think it's really gonna be determined by who we're writing the contracts to, not, I don't think we can do a blanket.
Well, and I agree with you, and let me tell you why I brought this up. We can deal with all new contracts in the contract, I have no problem with that. And we're gonna review the contract before they go out the door. So I'm okay with future contracts, dealing with it in the contract. The reason I brought this up is that we have people we've given money to, we still owe some money to, that have not met the reporting requirements. And we've still given them money. So I'm not saying they haven't given the reporting at all, they just, what they've given us does not pass an audit, and that has to stop. So I'm more concerned with the existing contracts than I am with future contracts, because we can build that into the contract.
So again, I know we touched on this a little earlier, how do we manage the expectation going forward? What's your recommendation and what's the board's recommendation? Now, how we manage that expectation?
I think we put it in the contract and then enforce it.
Yeah, but I mean, so one of the problems then is that it's in the contract, and we're not monitoring it and managing it to make sure they're adhering to the terms and conditions.
Now you're hitting on my concern.
So how do we manage that? We talked about this earlier. We just reiterate, we just recovering it again now, right, at the appropriate time. And I think, one of the responses or recommendations was the executive assistant would manage that. That's only one person, but I think even if the executive assistant owns that responsibility, the board also owns the responsibility of making sure that that job is getting done.
I agree. Yes, go ahead.
Going off of what he's saying, is I think we should have a set group from the board that keeps those checks and balances in place, that help the future emails, though that assistant is not on board with it, we have a committee, let current JEDCO board members.
Let me take an action item and put a committee together. So we will do that. Okay? So I don't see a need to take any other action on that. We've got a plan to deal with that unless the board feels otherwise.
It requires a vote, Mr. Chair.
Well, it's a formal committee or what?
Well, the action, yeah, I mean, it requires a motion and vote, because it's listed as an approval item. So we need to take a vote on the action.
Okay, so I need a movement then.
Need a motion? Mr. Chair, I move that, we establish a committee, to manage the expectation of contractual obligations with our future customers and current customers.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second that.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we will, form a committee and, approve that committee at the next meeting. Okay, discussion and consider for approval changes to the sports complex advisory committee. In other words, right now, Kenneth, the only board member we have on that is LaQuinn. Okay. I do believe, that the advisory committee, this is my opinion, need to be made up of current board members, and we can use anybody we want to from the community as advisors to that committee. But that's just a suggestion from me, so I'll open it up for discussion.
I move that the Sports Complex Advisory Committee be formally dissolved as it was composed under the previous board. Furthermore, I move that all conversations, planning, and funding considerations related to a new sports complex be tabled until the matter is placed on a public ballot with clear and simple language, allowing the taxpayers to vote directly on whether or not they support the construction of a new facility.
I will second that.
Okay?
That has been.
Isn't that what I already voted on?
No,
Yes, it is.
no.
So your motion is to table all action until we have another, public election, on whether or not we proceed with a sports complex.
Yes, and it can be put on the ballot in May, I'm pretty sure you're within the time frame of that. I do know, going back and doing some research on this wording that they have on the ballot, that, and even the articles and the videos and everything that I've watched surrounding that wording and what was going out, they were talking about, repairs to Fort Sports facility and everything. And so the wording on the ballot, now I didn't get to see the true wording on the ballot because, well, the ballot wasn't saved that year. So, you just don't have what the specific, but I've heard as community, people have talked to me, that the wording wasn't clear on the ballot. The way that it was worded on the ballot, they had to vote for either or two things. I'm not really sure what the wording was.
Okay, we have
But
the,
that's not the wording on the ballot, that is what it says for the ballot, because I did go in with the city and request that wording, because that is what they said that it was, but on the ballot itself, I do not think that that was the way it was worded to the taxpayer. And the taxpayer needs to know, or to say yes or no, we want a new sports facility. And if they do, I think that's great. I mean, I'm one vote, it doesn't matter. But I think the taxpayer needs to be given a chance to say yes or no.
well, let me, Mr. Getz, I wanted to ask you a question. So in 2009, there was a election to take some type A money, treated as type B money for the purpose of a sports complex. My understanding is none of that money was ever set aside. So we still had our tax money coming in, none of that money was earmarked or separated or anything else. So since 2009, we haven't been earmarking any of that money. So when the financial report gave you today, none of that's been earmarked for the sports complex. That's issue number one. Issue number two is we already have paid for $215,000 for improvements to the existing ball fields since 2009. So my question to you is, there's no obligation in that thing for JEDCO to fund a sports complex. So, so the ballot initiative that the motion carries, put it back on the agenda to see if the citizens, what would we do if the citizens say they want to build it? Because I don't know, other than earmarking money from that point forward to the future for this ballpark, what does another election actually do?
Well, I think at first, Tom is saying he has the ballot. I'd like to see the language that was on the ballot to see what the citizens actually voted for. To get to your point, whether or not JEDCO has complied with that already. Maybe we have. Was it just to purchase the land? Or was it to actually build sports complex? Those are two different things. Sports complex wasn't on the ballot.
I don't think,
So we're saying that this right here, this proposition where it gives you the votes, that's not what was written on the ballot, that's what we're saying?
That is what, the way that I understand it, yes, and if you go back and look at all the reporting that was done around this, for our, news media, they do a good job with what they do and how they report on these meetings after it is over, and if you go back and look at the conversations that were had, everything was about repairing the facilities that are already here. And so the language that you have on that ballot, and I was looking for it here, that the interim director has given out with his sports complex packet, it is the wording to go from, or to be able to use a type A or type B fund for type A or whatever. That is the wording that is used according to the law. It could have been what they used on the ballot. The reason why I questioned it is because nobody, as far as K-Jazz, as far as Beaumont, Jasper Newsboy, I'd have to go through the list that I went and looked at their articles to see how they did it. And they were all wording it the same way as it was talked about as repairs for what facilities are already here, and not as far as a new sports complex.
It's a very different thing.
can we Tom, where did you get that information at when you read it to me, but.
Mr. Stover.
Okay. So that came from Mr. Stover, and is that marked any official, like it was
I
on
mean,
the-
it shows the local tax proposition, shows how the proposition was listed, but if the proposition said only to, redo or refurbish buildings, then it wouldn't have listed soccer fields, football fields, any of that. Was that not listed either? Did it just say baseball fields?
So this is the official record that is with the city. If you request the records for the ballot, whatever. However, a copy of the ballot and the wording of the ballot should retain as records, but it did not get retained, so the actual wording of the ballot is not there. This is.
But what you're saying is you heard it's completely different than what this is. The ballot said something different than what this said.
Is that right?
I am using logical thinking to say that all these people can't be wrong. That I think that the way that it was put out towards the public, whether it was on the ballot or whatever, the way that the public kept hearing about it is that they were voting on being able to repair the facilities that are already here.
The JYPA ones.
It was the soccer fields, the baseball fields, and then there was one other. There was like 3 different, sports facilities that were coming in and asking for money for that to be repaired. And that's just the wording that is within all the articles that are placed around that. So I would just find it odd that all of those people would be wrong.
Who are those people?
The reporters.
The reporters, and that's coming from Beaumont. Jasper Newsboy was in on that, I looked up them, KJazz, I think East Texas Banner may have had an article, I just was researching.
So, to put parameters around this discussion, if I went to the city to ask them what the vote was, it's this language.
This is what you get.
What you're telling me is they don't have a record of what actually,
Right,
Was-
what the ballot said.
what was on the ballot. Will the county clerk have that?
I'm not really sure.
Or was that just strictly a city election?
I'm not really sure, I did not go that far into it. One thing I do know, I mean, there's plenty of people here, I'm not from this area originally, so I don't know, but I don't
But-
think they're looking at.
But here's what I want to do is, Mr. Scott, go ahead, I'll finish up my thought in a minute.
She said, she's not from there originally, I said, where are you from? I mean, how do you know about all of the details around this? You're here or not?
Because I research and I just look at things because, well, I don't have nothing else.
Just,
to do.
so you're just, you know.
I just read.
Here's what I want to do, Mr. Getz, I would like an opinion to look at this, but, I think a vote like that, I'm okay with a vote, and I'm okay if we want to make that a requirement. I don't want to put ourselves in conflict with a vote that was already taken. So I would like to table this until we get an opinion from Mr. Getz of what the previous ballot obligated us to do.
But also, I did wanna say, I don't understand why we would do a second vote when we're not saying we're building a sports complex. We already purchased the land. But what we're saying is that I think the part of the committee was to bring in companies to build it and run it and everything else. We were just purchasing the land, so what really would we be re-voting on?
Yeah, and
We're not gonna build it and run it.
no,
I
we're
think we
not
all
gonna,
agree we don't wanna do that.
we don't have, JEDCO does not have the money to build
Right.
a sports complex. We just.
So I don't know why we would be re-voting for what.
Well, my question is, Tom thinks that he may have a conflict with ballot. If he does, then I'll want to recess for a minute to give him a chance to find it.
Okay. Let's take a 5-minute break, Tom, if you want to go ahead and find that.
Take it.
We got a lot of other things. There's nothing in there that is on based on that purpose. Let's go ahead and reconvene. I'll go ahead and get everybody. Is everybody else out there?
Get those nameplates too.
Steve got one. Okay, I want to restart the conversation, and we do have a motion and a second, so we are discussing that motion and the second. After reading this, let me go ahead and read it just for the record. Shall a portion of the existing section 4A type A sales and use tax from the city be utilized for the cost of buildings, equipment, and facilities and improvements for use for professional and amateur, including children's sports and athletic purposes, including all ballparks, soccer fields, football fields and related concession and automobile parking facilities, related area transportation facilities and related roads, and water and sewage facilities, which is a category of projects under section 4B, article 5190.6, Vernon's, Texas statutes annotated. So I'm going to give you my take of what that actually says. Shall a portion be utilized for buildings and equipment and everything else? I believe we've already done that. In other words, when we gave the $215,000, we've already done that. We purchased that land. If we choose to utilize that land for a sports pump, that will be an incremental decision of this board. So it's not an obligation at this point in time, the way I look at it. I don't know that we need an election to do that. Now, if we want to put it on the ballot to get it up and down, because I can tell you, I am opposed myself to JEDCO funding a ball complex, because we're in the business of economic development, and this is not economic development. And we don't have enough money to do, this is gonna be, the approximate cost of this is gonna be about $30 million, is what I was told. Okay? We don't have that kind of money, nor do I wanna use that kind of money, because that doesn't bring jobs to the city, and even if we did this, and you can make the argument that it increased hotels and stuff, usage and everything else, it's still not, that's gonna be a partnership with whoever can raise the money, the city and everything else. So, I'm not trying to talk you out of your motion.
No.
I'm just saying, I don't think an election's needed, because I think technically, if we do nothing else, we've already met this obligation. You read it any different?
I really prefer, in my opinion, an executive session on this, because there is potential for litigation. If somebody from the outside said, oh no, y'all did sign on to do all this.
Okay. We will take that into executive session, so we will table this vote until after the executive session. Is that okay with the rest of the board?
Yes.
Okay, so last but not least, I believe,
Might be recognized.
yes, ma'am.
Who made the motion? Who seconded it?
I seconded.
You seconded it? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, discussion and consider approval for a forensic audit. My 2 cents is I understand why this is back on the deal, but we did have a discussion on this, but we did not take a vote, in the previous meeting, so, this is, for forensic audit, so what's the will of the board?
I would like to make a motion. I move that we, open or take bids to complete a forensic audit of all JEDCO business that encapsulates 5 years going back to 2019.
Okay, I have a motion on the table.
Okay.
Okay, I have, it was a second. Okay, I have a second. Discussion.
Why?
With the results from the recent city forensic audit showing that proper records were not being kept by JEDCO for the city in regards to the W-2s and tax filings by Corvallis, it insinuates that there will be other contracts that follow in the same manner. State law requires that the former JEDCO, state law was broken when the former JEDCO attorney, executive director, and board, they should have been aware and did not bring every contract to the city council for approval, because a regular yearly audit does not bring to the attention that the former JEDCO executive director, the former JEDCO attorney, or board members that were expired and past their legal terms of 6 years with state law. We cannot move forward without knowing what action and legality of said actions have or have not taken place in the past. And to finalize this, is it worth the risk to have the state attorney general open an investigation because the current board chose not to invest in an audit that will not only make the JEDCO board and our business transparent and accountable to our taxpayers? That's why.
When we brought this up the last time, didn't we talk about a forensic audit one time before?
We did not take a vote, we discussed it.
What was the discussion then?
We tabled it. I have an opinion, but I don't wanna lead all the discussion, I need to hear from the board members first.
Question.
To put it back on and y'all can put it back on.
What are we looking to gain from this?
Yeah.
If detailed documentation wasn't provided by Corvallis, why can't we just go back and request that?
May I be recognized? I don't think Corvallis is the only thing. I've requested public records myself, and they're little to none. And so, from the recommendations, and not trying to say that somebody did this and they didn't do that, but from the recommendations from the audit that was done by the city, and they got recommendations and was told, not only with Corvallis, that just had to do with JEDCO, but it showed where their weaknesses were. I don't understand why we wouldn't invest in something that would show us where we are weak, because not everybody is like getting every day emailing for public records, so we really don't even know what's not there and what is there. And I think digging into those files, you'll be able to get, a playing field where you say, okay, we need to do this, we need to do this, and we need to do that. What files would the forensic audit see that the regular audit did not?
You broke the law.
Yeah, please from the audience, keep the comments down to us.
I mean, honestly, I know that we've done this for a long time. We brought this up one other time. We all said there wasn't anything legal. Somebody just say it. Go ahead. Tell me. Tell you what? Tell me what it is. Somebody tell me what was done illegally that we wanna look at.
I'm not saying legally.
Yes, we have.
Okay, nobody said that.
Okay, point of order.
I wanna know what it is.
Mr.
The
Scott.
whole board.
My question is, that forensic audit that was done against the city also implied that there were conflict of interest, conflicts of interest in the way that bids were done for city contracts. So, that doesn't have anything to do with it. The only thing I think was pointed out, I'm sorry, who was that?
Hey, please from the audience, I don't wanna have to ask anybody to leave, so let us have our discussion, please.
So my thing is, one of the main points that I made earlier, and questions that I repeatedly asked, was about the finances and whether or not there was gross negligence. And any of the research that's been done up to this point, because now we have access to the records on the computer. And, yeah, I'm still waiting on those facts to be presented or concerns to be presented to the board. And I have not heard or seen any of that.
Can I be recognized?
Yes.
So, we don't know what we don't know. And for me, I wanna make sure that my name's not being signed on paperwork going forward, that we're requiring these things to be happening. Like, we've created the committee to check, to make sure that those contracts were being lived up to their requirements. That was one of the things that we wanna go forward. We wanna be transparent to the city taxpayers. I think with what you were addressing, Nicole, about what was illegal, what I'm saying is, with regard to a regular audit does not uncover the fact that we are lacking in how we keep our records, how they're stored, who can access them, because at this point, all of the old board can access this building. So, we still have problems. So that's why I want a forensic audit. I want to know where, as you said, where our weaknesses are.
And I understand that, I get that 100%, but Mr. Getz had told us that basically a forensic audit means when you're ready to catch someone doing something that they cost a lot of money. If we see what the problems were, where the lack of communication, where it was, we can fix that without having to pay $80,000 for a forensic audit. When we want to go into a forensic audit, I mean, we can just say it as it is. We believe, not me, some believe that something illegal was done. We didn't find it, asking for all the public records. We still haven't found it. So now they want JEDCO, or some of us want JEDCO to pay for a forensic audit when we have nothing to back it. We don't have anything. I mean, it was said, right? Pockets were being padded was a good one I heard. Laws were being broken. You're going to jail. But when we sit here and have this conversation, nobody can say, well, this is what it was. This is why. He said, if we have something to go after, I am all for a forensic audit. But I have yet to hear why. We can't just say we want to do a forensic audit and pay a lot of money because we want to make sure we do contracts the way we're supposed to. We can figure that out without a forensic audit. That's my point. I just want to know what is the real reason? What is it?
May I be recognized?
Yeah.
I was not asking for public records because I'm trying to catch.
Oh, and I don't mean
No,
to shoot.
I know that,
I don't
I'm
mean to
just
shoot.
saying, that would not be my reason, but just for example, I wanted to know as I was looking over this stuff about Mr. Wynn, did we have a signed contract with him, like what was the status? And so when I asked for public records, like there's little to no information within JEDCO, publicly records, as far as public records, no emails, there's no communications. I think there was like 5, maybe total, and they committed $230,000 for somebody to relocate to me. That doesn't seem right. That's procedural. That is the most negligence in business that you could ever be. If you're going to give somebody that amount of money, there should be like tons of records there. So that is what I'm looking for. And like she said, a regular audit, you're not gonna get those things. To me, $80,000, $100,000, whatever you wanna say, that is an investment for the taxpayers, for them to finally say, you know what, you guys are on the right track, let's do this, let's go forward. I don't see we're spent, because we throw $100,000 here and there to all over the place, but now it's too expensive for a forensic audit, and I just don't agree with that.
And if we do that forensic audit, and that forensic audit comes back and says, everything was legit, again, maybe they weren't as organized as they were like we've seen. Are we accepting that? Are we saying that's it, they were good, sorry we accused you of being thieves?
Mr. Scott?
How many people on the board now, was around when some of these concerns
I understand the concern, I really do. My point is, I think I have a pretty good feel for what was lacking and what was not being done. If I had a reason to think somebody purposely or broke the law, I'd be all for a forensic audit. But the discussion in the last meeting, while we decided not to do it, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, we asked that, except for this year, because the city had already contracted for this year, we were gonna ask the auditor to concentrate on a few extra things and build that into the audit next year, and is why the board decided not to pursue, we didn't take a vote, but pursue a forensic audit at the time. I'm all ears if we think somebody broke the law doing a forensic audit. I don't know that I wanna spend $100,000 to telling me that the past JEDCO records were not adequate. I know that already. I don't wanna spend $100,000 for them to tell me that the previous board did not follow up on the deal. I know that already. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I understand the concern. I really do. What would we do with the forensic audit that we're not always trying to do? That's another question I would have. I think we're trying to do the right thing. We are being transparent. Having this open discussion in front of the public is being pretty transparent. We're recognizing our flaws and we're trying to fix it. So if we knew of something specifically that we needed to target a forensic audit, I would be all for it. I don't know that I want to spend $100,000 telling me what I already know. And some of us have had this conversation already that I already know that we're lacking. I already know that JEDCO did not require proper reporting, even though it was in their contracts. And the forensic audit is gonna tell me that. So, when we talk about doing this for the taxpayer, unless we have an idea that something really was bad, I'd be willing to spend $100,000 to find that out. But I'm spending taxpayer money to tell me something I already know. That's what I'm having a problem with. That's just my 2 cents. Understanding that we know some things were not done correctly. We know that. And is this present board responsible for that? I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that, we have some indemnification in our, we're bonded and stuff like that, but unless we come up and do something we know is wrong, I don't think they can come back on us, but I might be wrong. And I'm looking at you, Mike, too.
So I think that the Jasper City Council spoke pretty loudly and hit the reset button by putting all new board members in. And I also think it was proactive to get an opinion from the attorney, Mr. Garza, that outlined a lot of the deficiencies that he saw back when he was employed to look at things that was going on with JEDCO. Mr. Gray, I think you're absolutely right. The deficiencies are glaring, and you are on top of them. And I think this whole board is on top of them. And I think that, we cannot undo what has already been done. We can't make it better than what was done, but we can recognize there were mistakes made and go forward. When the Beaumont Independent School District hired the same Weaver firm that audited the city council, they spent $400,000. But that money was well spent. People went to jail, went to prison. There was theft going on. We don't have that kind of smoking gun that I'm aware of here. We're not looking at that. It's a whole different thing. And a regular auditor can tell you different ways you can strengthen your procedures so that you can make sure things are being done right. That can be done without a forensic audit. Your regular auditor can help you with that too. And you've already mentioned it as part of the request that we're making, so. Of course, it's a little.
Sure. So with that, any other discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Do I?
Follow-up question.
No, I was asking, I thought you had a question.
No, I was.
Okay, so we're gonna call the question, and, this is, the motion was for a forensic audit, it was seconded. We've had discussion. All in favor for a forensic audit, say aye.
Raise your hand so I can see. Okay.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Now, with that being said, Tom, the direction I gave you for the auditor that we're going to pick, I wanna highlight, not just the regular audit, I do wanna highlight what we discussed and what the concerns are.